Hello, this is Dr. Karmen Smith, and thank you for joining me in this new series that I'm calling That Is Way Out There. I'm a spiritual teacher and a mental health therapist and been a student of metaphysics my whole life. Religion and structured religion, I just had so many questions. And as I got older and had more experiences, I started asking deeper questions to the universe. And one of the things that I'd like to share with you that to some people may be way out there, to others it may be real familiar. And I'm going to be talking about dimensions today and other forms of reality or other dimensions of reality. And if you're a student of physics or have studied metaphysics or have heard about string theory or M theory, these are mathematical equations that try to tease out or try to prove that there are other dimensions, or as they're trying to work out M theory, they're finding out that it is an equation that explains that there are other dimensions going on simultaneously on this planet, in other universes. So let me break that down if that sounds too woo-woo. And I'm sure you've had this experience where if you are vibrating, and when I mean vibrating, we're all energy. Everything that is around that we see are atoms banging into each other, making a solid or making a matter or making heat or whatever it is. So everything is energy. We are energy forms. So if you are vibrating with an emotion like anger, frustration, irritability, shame, guilt, all of those, I'm going to say that those are slower forms of vibrational energy. What you will draw to you is exactly the same thing that you are feeling internally. So what you will draw to you are experiences that will create anger, critical, judgmental forms of experiences. So you will draw what you're putting out. In other words, if you are vibrating at a love frequency, which is higher, faster, more vibrant, a gratitude frequency, a joyful frequency, you are going to attract in your life exactly what you are experiencing internally. So your experiences will be more joyful, more you'll see things that you are grateful for, you will see beauty around you, so you will experience a certain form of reality. Now, this is where the dimensions come into play. Because if you have all of these different people vibrating with all of these different frequencies, they're going to experiencing different experiences. They're going to be in different dimensions. This is kind of how I visualize it, like a sheet of paper. We're all on this planet. It's all the certain day of the week, so we're all on the same page. But you'll notice that the lines are separated. These lines are not necessarily touching each other because they're experiencing, let's just say that these are people, they're experiencing their own form of reality. They're moving through their own separate dimension. Now, we can't see these dimensions with our five senses, but we can experience them with our energetic nature. We can experience them with our sixth sense, with our heart. We can understand that we're experiencing life different than somebody that is moving at a slower frequency. Now, I've experienced this in my own life. I know you have too, so let me just break it down to an example, because that's how I learn, is through example. So my son and I were going on a vacation with a friend, and our friend was vibrating at a different frequency. She was going through a lot. She had lost a significant person in her life. She had lost a pet even, so she was in a grief mode. And so the way she handled that grief mode was that she was in irritability mode when she was driving, when things weren't working out right. She had a short fuse. And when I was experiencing that with my son, we weren't used to that frequency. And so we started to go into judgment mode. Usually we are in a very high vibration. As a matter of fact, the day before we experienced Venice Beach. this loving atmosphere, because we were experiencing exactly what was in our consciousness. We were full of love and joy and excitement. What we experienced at Venice Beach in California was love, excitement, agape. It was a wonderful experience. That night, however, we were in judgment of our friend that was going through this grief process. We were like, snap out of it. We didn't have the patience. We were in our critical mode thinking. We were also in a superior mode thinking that, oh, we could handle things much better than this person. So this is what we were sending out to the universe. Do you know, when we went to Venice the next day, we got exactly what we were putting out that night and what we were putting out that morning, which was that critical nature. What did we experience at Venice? Do you think we experienced the love and joy that is there all the time? No, we experienced someone that was angry, that was critical of everybody in the world, that was irritable, that got irritable by a passing car because they maybe looked at him a certain way or made a certain sound. And he jumped at that car and was banging on the window. We were right in the middle of that. So we had to kind of scatter because we were experiencing. Keep in mind, you have to be awake enough to understand what you're experiencing. It is exactly what you're putting out. So it made us recognize and made us realize and stop in our tracks and say, wait a minute, things don't just happen. What happened here, and how did we create that person to come into our dimensional space? Well, we created it by having the exact same emotions that he was showing to us. Those were familiar emotions to us because we had them that day and that evening. So what were we able to do? We were able to turn that situation around. Remember, you can always interrupt the chaos cycle, get back into a higher frequency. How? By being loving, by being generous, by being giving, and by being compassionate with others. So what did I need to do with my friend that was experiencing grief? I needed to hold her in my thoughts in a compassionate way. I needed to call her on the phone and apologize for what my intention was in my judgment towards her. I had to come clean and tell her, this is what I was doing. I apologize. I needed to come from a loving space. And my friend is very loving and compassionate. And she, of course, forgave me. And it was just a great learning experience that whole weekend. My son and I learned that our vibration creates our dimension. Our dimension determines what we're going to experience that day. Let me tell you something. When you're walking in a loving, giving, compassionate vibration, you experience heaven on earth, where everything is joyful. Everything is wonderful. You see what is really there. And it's all coming from love. It all has the vibration of love because that is the source. So be the source, be the one, be the love, and experience heaven on earth, because that's the dimension that we all can walk on. That's the dimension that determines that we are enlightened and awake to what we are. And we are love. Love you.